They called her the Virgin Queen, but the whispers say she died with a secret child. Richmond Palace, March 1603. Elizabeth I's body lies stiff beneath white lead makeup, the symbol of chastity she wore like armor. Courtiers kneel in silence, incense masking a stench no prayer can sanctify. To the world, she is England's untouchable queen, the monarch who claimed she married her people, not a man. But history has bite marks. Behind the polished myth are letters burned, witnesses silenced, and rumors too persistent to ignore. The teenage princess caught in bedchamber games with a predatory step-uncle. The queen whose closest favorite's wife died mysteriously. And the stranger who appeared years later, claiming to be her hidden heir. And here's why that secret terrified them. A single illegitimate child could have shattered the entire Tudor dynasty. It would have thrown every royal claim into chaos, questioned Elizabeth's divinity, and armed her enemies with the one weapon that could topple her throne. This isn't the fairy tale they sell in textbooks. It's darker, messier, and far more human. And the further we dig, the worse it gets. So stick around, because this isn't just about Elizabeth's crown. It's about the body she swore she never shared, and the secret history England buried with her. Subscribe now, so we can keep digging. Picture this: a 14-year-old girl, newly fatherless, living in a house that smells of damp river air and court perfume. Chelsea Manor, spring 1547, London's edge, where the Thames curves past fields that still remember plague pits. Her name is Elizabeth Tudor, second daughter of Henry VIII, half-sister to the boy King Edward VI. She's bright, sharp-tongued, trained to survive in a world where women rarely do. And she's about to meet the man who will ignite one of the most unsettling rumors in English history. Enter Thomas Seymour, Henry VIII's brother-in-law, uncle to the new boy king, and, more importantly, Elizabeth's step-uncle through Catherine Parr, Henry's widow. Think of him as the Tudor court's handsome predator. Charming, ambitious, and reckless. After Henry's death in January 1547, Seymour marries Catherine Parr in secret. Then he moves both Catherine and Elizabeth into his household at Chelsea. Convenient, isn't it? The perfect setting for grooming disguised as guardianship. At first, it seems playful. Seymour visits Elizabeth's chambers at dawn in his nightgown, not exactly the uniform of a concerned father figure. He tickles her, slaps her on the backside, sometimes cuts her dresses low in the bosom to make her blush. Catherine Parr laughs it off at first, even joining in the so-called games. But the jokes stop when she walks in on Seymour holding Elizabeth in an embrace that no guardian should have with a teenage ward. That's not rumor. That's recorded testimony from Elizabeth's governess, Cat Ashley. By spring 1548, the laughter curdles into alarm. Catherine Parr orders Elizabeth removed from Chelsea, fast. The teenage princess is sent to Hatfield House, miles from the capital, under watchful eyes. No farewell feast, no ceremony, just gone. Why? Officially, to protect her reputation. But the silences in the record, destroyed household accounts, missing letters, have fueled centuries of darker speculation. Here's where the whispers begin. Did Elizabeth leave Chelsea already carrying a secret? Did Catherine Parr's sudden jealousy mask fear of scandal or fear of exposure? Fast forward to January 1549, Thomas Seymour, drunk on ambition and plotting to seize control of young King Edward, is arrested for treason. During interrogation, he admits to nothing helpful. But council records reveal an obsession with Elizabeth, even talk of marrying her to secure his power. Days later, Seymour is executed at the Tower of London. Elizabeth, dragged in for questioning, deflects every charge with icy composure. She is 15 years old, and here's the uncomfortable detail. Pregnancy rumors flicker in the margins of diplomatic reports. No proof survives. No child's record. No confession. But in Tudor England, absence of evidence often means one thing: the crown erased what they feared. A royal bastard would have detonated the fragile Tudor succession. Edward VI was sickly. Mary Tudor was Catholic. One illegitimate heir, especially one tied to a traitor like Seymour, could have split the kingdom in two. Think about the stakes. Elizabeth's entire virgin queen persona, the divine bride of England, doesn't survive if she carries the stain of a hidden child. The Tudors weren't just silencing gossip. They were protecting the dynasty's survival. And here's the part that should make you uneasy. The moment Elizabeth leaves Chelsea, her household records vanish. Entire pages from Catherine Parr's accounts? Gone. Clothing inventories? Missing. Midwife logs? Nowhere to be found. Tudor history is full of gaps. But these gaps are suspiciously surgical. Someone cut out the months where the rumors began. Stick with me, because if you think this was just a teenage scandal, wait until you hear what happens when Elizabeth takes the throne and rumors of another pregnancy resurface, this time tied to a man whose wife dies under very suspicious circumstances. Imagine the Queen of England leaning out a palace window, grinning at one man in the crowd. Not a king, not an ambassador, just Robert Dudley, the childhood friend turned master of her heart. It's 1558, and Elizabeth has just taken the throne. 25 years old, brilliant, cautious, yet suddenly reckless whenever Dudley is near. Everyone sees it, the way she lingers on his hand when he kneels, the way he rides at her side like no courtier dares. She calls him her eyes in public. Subtle, right? Ambassadors report their closeness with the same tone modern tabloids reserve for celebrity scandals. The Spanish envoy, de Quadra, writes home in disbelief. She does not let him leave her for a moment. Translation: the entire court is watching a soap opera play out in real time, minus the commercials. There's just one problem. Robert Dudley is already married. His wife, Amy Robsart, is quietly tucked away in the countryside, far from court. Convenient, isn't it? Out of sight, out of mind, until September 1560, when Amy is found dead at the bottom of a staircase. Official verdict? Accidental fall? Public reaction? Sure. And I suppose the Virgin Queen knits in her spare time. The rumors don't stop there. Whispers spread like spilled ink. Amy's death cleared the way for Elizabeth and Dudley to marry. Others claim something darker, that Elizabeth herself carried Dudley's child, and Amy's death was no tragic coincidence, but a political necessity. Foreign ambassadors send coded letters to their monarchs hinting at a miscarriage. One report even ties Elizabeth's mysterious illnesses to rumors of confinement, absences from court, private retreats at Woodstock and Hatfield. No child appears, of course. But the gaps in the record? They echo louder than any birth cry. Now, before you picture this as a Tudor rom-com, let me remind you of the stakes. A queen with an illegitimate child wasn't just a scandal. It was treasonous dynamite. Her entire claim to divine authority rested on chastity. One whisper of pregnancy, and rival factions, Catholic and Protestant alike, would feast on her throne like vultures on a battlefield. And here's where the humor curdles into horror. The government doesn't just deny the rumors, they criminalize them. In 1571, Parliament passes an act making it treason to suggest Elizabeth had a lover, a child, or any heir other than the one she names. You didn't just risk gossip, you risked the scaffold. Imagine whispering one wrong word at a feast, and by morning, your head's on a spike over London Bridge. That's how fast gossip traveled, and how fast it killed. But even that wasn't enough to kill the whispers. Courtiers joke in code, poems circulate hinting at the Queen's hidden fruit. A few even dare to note that portraits of Elizabeth grow whiter and more stylized as the rumors intensify. The Virgin Queen myth painted thicker with every scandal. And just when things seem contained, Dudley's wife's body lands at the bottom of those stairs. Suddenly, the personal is political and dangerous. Elizabeth cannot marry Dudley now. The court won't allow it. But the intimacy doesn't stop. The letters continue. The knowing glances across council chambers remain. And every foreign envoy in Europe writes home the same thing. England's queen is no virgin, whatever her portraits claim. Stick with me, because if you think rumors of secret pregnancies and murdered wives were wild, wait until you see what happens when Elizabeth's government turns rumor control into an industry, building the greatest propaganda machine England had ever seen, one portrait at a time. You've heard the rumors: Seymour, Dudley, miscarriages, hidden retreats. But hold that thought, because decades later, a man will walk into Spain claiming he's Elizabeth's secret son. We'll get to him. First, you need to understand why that claim was dynamite, and why the Tudors built an entire industry to bury whispers like his alive. By the 1570s, Elizabeth's council wasn't just fighting gossip. They were at war with it. They outlawed it. The 1571 Treason Act made it punishable by death to suggest the Queen had lovers, children, or any heir she didn't name. Think about that. Crack one joke about the Queen's belly, and you're not laughing, you're hanging. Enter Francis Walsingham, Elizabeth's spymaster. The man turned rumor control into state religion. His network of informants sniffed through taverns, markets, even church pews, anywhere someone might mutter the wrong name. One tailor, who joked about Elizabeth's growing belly, dragged through the streets, nailed to a cart. Virginity wasn't just her image, it was a weapon, bludgeoning dissent into silence. And the irony? The more the state insisted Elizabeth was pure, the more foreign envoys assumed she wasn't. Ambassadors from Spain, France, even the Vatican wrote home cataloguing every suspicious absence from court, every unexplained illness. The myth only grew whiter, more saintly, because it had to. The more she was whispered about in taverns, the more her portraits gleamed like icons. So, here's your warning. This propaganda machine worked. It buried the scandals, it erased the gaps, it turned a woman into a saint. And yet, decades later, a stranger would appear claiming he was her son, and somehow he knew things he shouldn't. By 1587, the Virgin Queen myth has held for decades, until a half-starved stranger staggers into Madrid with a claim so explosive it could rip England apart. "I am Elizabeth's son." You can hear the Spanish officials choking on their wine. A secret bastard heir to the Virgin Queen, delivered to their doorstep like a gift from God, or at least from whatever saint handles international scandals. His name? Arthur Dudley, yes. Dudley, as in Robert Dudley, Elizabeth's not-so-secret favorite. The man everyone already suspects was more than a friend. Subtle, right? He couldn't have picked a more radioactive surname if he tried. Arthur doesn't arrive with pomp. He's not escorted by armies. He just shows up in Spain, dripping wet, half-starved, claiming he's been living abroad in secret his whole life, raised by foster parents, told nothing of his birth until late teens. Convenient timing, isn't it? Right when Europe's watching Elizabeth like hawks and her reputation as the Virgin Queen is the only thing holding her image together. Picture a candle-lit room in Madrid. A Spanish official named Francis Englefield, exiled Englishman, loyal Catholic, professional Tudor hater, sits across from Arthur. Englefield's quill scratches furiously as Arthur spins his tale. He was born in 1561, raised quietly in the English countryside, taken abroad when danger loomed. His mother, Elizabeth herself. His father, Robert Dudley. Sound ridiculous? Sure. But here's the twist. Arthur knows details no peasant should know. The layout of palaces, the names of Elizabeth's governesses, court routines, even the scent of her favorite perfumes, musk and rose, mixed to mask illness. Either he's a brilliant conman, or, well, you get it. Englefield presses him. Arthur stays calm. No hysterics, no contradictions, it's unnerving. If he's lying, he's good at it. And if he's telling the truth, Spain just landed the biggest political weapon of the century, a royal bastard who could delegitimize Elizabeth's entire reign. Here's the funny part. Funny, in the Tudor sense, meaning horrifying but somehow hilarious. Arthur Dudley vanishes. Poof. After a handful of interrogations, he disappears from Spanish records. No execution, no ransom, no triumphant parade. Just gone. Maybe he was a fraud, and Spain quietly dropped him. Maybe he was real, and England quietly silenced him. Or maybe, and this is my favorite theory, he ended up rotting in some damp Spanish cell, muttering about royal parentage to rats. Either way, that's one hell of a family reunion story, isn't it? Historians roll their eyes at Arthur. They call him a crank, a spy, a footnote. But let's weigh the coincidences. His claimed birth year, 1561, aligns with Elizabeth's unexplained illnesses and court absences. His surname, Dudley, practically a flashing neon sign pointing at her rumored lover. His knowledge of court life, disturbingly accurate for someone supposedly raised in exile. Coincidence piled on coincidence. Or cover-up, piled on cover-up, take your pick. And here's the chilling part. If Arthur was real, it wasn't just Elizabeth's image at stake, it was the entire Tudor dynasty. A hidden son could have split England during war with Spain. He could have become a Catholic pawn, a Protestant martyr, or the spark that ignited civil war, which is exactly why, whether he existed or not, the safest place for Arthur Dudley was nowhere. Arthur Dudley disappears into history's cracks. Elizabeth dies insisting she was a virgin. And the truth? It never made it into the portraits. So what do we know? We know Elizabeth Tudor, the Virgin Queen, built her reign on a myth. A woman wedded to England, untouched, untouchable. We know that myth was protected with fire and iron. Whispers criminalized, pamphlets burned, gossips flogged, spies lurking in every tavern. We know there were rumours. A teenage princess caught in bedchamber games with Thomas Seymour, a queen inseparable from Robert Dudley, his wife's mysterious death, the talk of miscarriages and secret retreats. And we know, decades later, a man called Arthur Dudley appeared in Spain, claiming to be Elizabeth's son, armed with knowledge no stranger should have, and then vanished like smoke. But what we don't know, what we're not supposed to know, is whether the myth was a lie. Did Elizabeth die a virgin? Or did she take that secret to the grave, buried beneath layers of propaganda and silence? If a child existed, what happened to them? Were they erased, absorbed into another family, left to rot in some nameless grave? Here's the part that should haunt you. The Tudor dynasty's survival depended on Elizabeth's purity. One bastard heir could have toppled her crown, split England, changed every royal line that followed. If there was a secret child, then every king and queen who sat on England's throne after her, James I, Charles I, even the Windsors, might be heirs to a stolen lie. Look at Elizabeth's portraits now. The white face, the pearl crown, the painted perfection. How much of that was history, and how much was cover-up? And next time you hear her called the Virgin Queen, ask yourself, Was that her greatest triumph or history's greatest con? Thank you for watching, and if you're still hungry for more, subscribe and click the video on the screen.